Hi, this is Elizabeth, one of the co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to No Filter Friday on Public House Media. And as promised, I'm going to leave you some episodes while I'm away for February. So I'm sitting here virtually, electronically, with Hollie Peters, who runs the Rape, Sexual Assault, and Abuse Awareness Facebook page, and now an adjoining support group. So thanks for coming on, and let's have a chat about what you're doing over here on Facebook.
Okay.
So I found you because I'm constantly sharing and reposting terrible, horrible stories of people getting raped or assaulted or, sometimes even worse than that. How did you come to make this Facebook page?
Well, it actually started as something completely different. I am a sexual trauma survivor, and about 2 years ago, one of the ways I expressed myself was through art. And so I was doing a lot of painting and a lot of writing. So I originally started the page as a place to share my artwork. And once that was up for a little while, and I started getting requests of other people to post their artwork. And so this spiraled, and I started posting memes and posts that were more related to awareness in general. And then, I started transforming. I got a little bit out of my painting phase, and my interest changed. I got into school for psychology, and the page just kind of changed from there. It went from being an art page to more of posts and awareness. And over time, I realized that the audience I had was mostly made up of survivors. And so now, today, it is really made up of survivors and people who are passionate about the topic as much as I am.
That's exciting. Yeah, well, I feel like everybody's like sliding in your DMs with these stories that you get to repost, whether they be anonymously or anonymously, or with full disclosure in who they are, and they fully get to tell their story. So you're building quite a roster here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Over time, I started getting messages of survivors that were identifying with me and the things I was posting. And so it really got built unintentionally. I was really flattered by the amount of people that messaged me and wanted advice and wanted me to help them share their own stories. And so that's really what it's made up of now. It's made up of not just me, but every survivor and every survivor's story.
It's really interesting to me, somebody who's also gotten survivor stories from all over the world. What I think is interesting is that people, because I shouldn't say in this business because I don't make any money doing this, but
Right.
in this space, I guess you could say, is that people assume that I've been molested or raped or something, and that's not the case. Like, lo and behold, which is kind of shocking to me considering the life that I've lived. Right. Do you have anybody that writes to you? It's like, this didn't actually happen to me, but I do really enjoy your page.
I do. There's a lot of people who not only, most people know somebody that has been sexually assaulted.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether they realize it or not anyway. So a lot of people have the passion or the interest just because they care about it and they know other people who have been assaulted. So it's an issue that more people take interest in than you would really think.
So your survivors that have sent you stories and then you've published them for them, what do they feel like after that, after you've posted it, after you've hit live?
Yeah, they feel good about it. They have a story, but they don't necessarily want to share it on their own page, or they don't know how to go about sharing it. And so I think it makes people feel comfortable to have a place that they can share it, whether it be anonymously or with their name, in a place where it's going to be with uh, met with compassion and met with support, because they've seen other people come out on the page. And I don't allow for any negative I don't allow for any negativity to go on.
Yeah, that's really hard because like that's like the first bandwagon that people jump on when they hear these stories. It's like it just goes straight to negative so
Right.
fast. It is unbelievable.
I really welcome discussion on the page. Another big part about it for me is having the open dialogue and conversations going on about sexual trauma in general. And so I welcome the discussion, but in a respectful way. And when it comes to people sharing their stories, I only welcome, supportive comments to be given to that.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a moderating that is a full-time job. Um, because when I was interviewing some of the Pulse nightclub survivors, um, and just posted some BTS stuff on Facebook, during the interview, no big deal. And by the time I had, cut the cameras, packed everything up, hit the mall for a little while, and I was sitting at the airport waiting for my flight home, the post just exploded with people being like, "Oh my God, this is a hoax. This didn't happen to you. You're a liar. You're making money off this." Like
Yeah.
the most obscene responses to somebody being like, "Yeah, I was in a bathroom with the guy that was shooting up the place, and my friend and I somehow survived when everyone next to us was murdered."
Oh,
Like it was absolutely crazy.
wow.
And that's what people that have a story to tell, that's what they're met with every single time they open their mouth.
Right.
Um, but in this case, though, you're providing a place where it's like, a written account of
Uh-huh.
what's happened, which I think is probably cathartic in itself, and maybe feels a little bit safer to creak the door open to their
Right.
like full situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever had anybody? Have you ever posted anybody's story that asked you to post it and then they asked you to take it down?
I have not, and I'm always really careful. Um, I ask people a couple times, "Are you sure you want me to post this?" I ask, "Do I have your permission to post this?" Um, and then with a couple of survivors, I've helped them along the process of going about writing it. And sometimes it'll
Mm-hmm.
take somebody a couple days to decide if they want to write it, but I'm always very open about, I don't want to post anything that somebody's not sure, because once it's out there, even if it is anonymous. And so that's important to me, to make sure that somebody's confident that they're ready to do this.
Absolutely, because the toothpaste does not go back in the tube. Once
Exactly.
it's out, it's out. It can't be taken back.
Mhm.
And that's a huge step for people that have been through things like this, is to put anything out there about it, because then it can't be taken back. You cannot go back to, you know, the life that you had before you, or not even just the life, but like the mental space that you had
Right.
before you posted anything
It's
about
like
it.
it's a secret that you've been carrying, that if once it's out, it's not your secret anymore.
Yeah, then it's not necessarily like public knowledge. Like that's kind of a stretch, but it's out in the world. It's been it's been breathed into existence.
Right.
So you don't get to sit around with it anymore and be like, well, I wonder if I should do this. Like what's done is done. There's nothing you can do
Yep,
about it.
exactly.
So let's talk about the support group situation that you have running in conjunction to this Facebook page.
Yeah, I actually started it about 6 months ago, and funny enough, I couldn't figure out how to accept my member requests for the longest time. So it wasn't up
Oh
until
God.
about, I know, it wasn't up until I was so confused. I said, I have so many survivors here. I don't know why nobody wants to join. But
Like, this pot is full and it's not boiling. What's going on here?
Exactly. And I started it because I knew that there were a lot of survivors on my main page that didn't want to publicly talk about things because the other page is public. So I wanted to make something that was private. And so about a month ago, I finally figured out how to accept my member requests. And now we have 120 members. And we're slowly starting to build the activity in the group. It's still a little bit slow, but we've got a lot of members, and I know everybody's really excited to get things really going.
Definitely. Well, that, like, I've seen a little bit of this, like, over the past, I would say, year and a half or so. And not necessarily, like, for this specific issue or genre, shall we say, but, like, people really taking charge of their own situation, whatever it may be, whatever little niche in life that you have, and making this online community of support, or in your case, like a literal support group, of like, how do you finding other people that are of a similar situation, or kind of in the same boat, or on the same page, in the same book, in the same library, possibly, and supporting each other. And that's really, really important. It's kind of like combining the stranger on the train thing, but with like an actual connection over time, I guess you could say. Like, there's, you're kind of combining the best of both worlds, really.
Yeah, everybody gets to know each other, and everybody that wants to be a part of it usually has a similar mindset of being in the process of wanting to heal. Either that, or it's just happened to them and they're trying to find support and figure out what to do.
Definitely. Have you had anybody come to you that's like, oh, this just happened to me, what do I do? Like, do you have any fresh ones coming down the pipeline, or is it mostly people that they're processing it from like a distance?
Right. No, unfortunately, it's almost every day I will get somebody that messages me and says that this just happened to me. So typically, because I'm not a trained professional, I'm just here to support. I can't give legal advice or anything like that. So I typically will just, listen to someone and be supportive. And I usually refer them to the RAIN hotline, which is like the National Sexual Assault organization.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's such a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I usually refer people to their organization for further help.
Definitely. You should get like a RAIN badge or something for your page. They should give you some sort of a sticker.
Yeah. I would love to work with them. I haven't reached out to them, but I would love to work with them. They're a really awesome organization.
They're kind of hard to get a hold of. I've reached, unless you have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're a little bit hard to get a hold of.
That would make sense. They're pretty big, so.
Yeah, they are, and they have chapters everywhere, but like, I think if you maybe found like a physical chapter that's like kind of local to you, they might be able to help you out. But as far as like getting in touch with them in like a corporate office headquarters kind of a way, it's tough, because I've tried it and it didn't work. So,
good to know.
But just for, hey, can someone, yeah, like, oh, does somebody want to do the podcast or whatever? Like, that's like the hard part about it.
Oh yeah, I bet that would be really difficult.
Anyway, so what are your hopes for the future of your Facebook page and support group?
My hopes for the future. I'm trying to focus on building up my audience, and my next goal is trying to build up this support group. I really have been wanting to put together some kind of PSA video with survivors who have stories.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of in the near future of something that I've been trying to work on. But that's about as far as I have thought. I'm a survivor healing myself, so it's just a journey I'm going along on with everybody else. So I don't know what the future holds necessarily.
Where on the East Coast are you?
I am in Florida.
In Florida. Wonderful. Well, if you want to make this PSA sometime over the summer, I can come do that with you. That's totally fine. we can make that together if you feel like it.
Cool.
Let me ask you this, because No Filter Friday is all about, hashtag me too.
Right.
How have you felt that the evolution of Me Too has affected the people that write to you with stories?
Well, my page really started getting popular about 2 years ago. Is when
So you were right on the cusp of it.
That's kind of when things started, yeah. And there was an interest at that point, but people were kind of nervous about really coming out about it. And so the biggest thing I've noticed is that over time, people have become more comfortable with coming forward, even if it is anonymously. They don't want to suffer in silence. They don't want to do it by themselves. People want support. They are more willing to want to share and help others with their story.
Definitely. Well, I mean, we're living in a completely new world now where you can do stuff like this, where you can write it on social media or go on the news or formally accuse somebody, and like the world will be like, oh, okay, let's sort this out.
Yeah.
As opposed to even just a short while ago when we're like, oh my God, no one's ever going to believe you, or you're going to ruin your life if you say that, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, exactly. People know it's okay. People know that there's enough of us out there that they're not going to be alone. And people are willing to just have the conversation in general, even if they're not a survivor. People are more aware, which is what I've wanted for a really long time. When I was going through my own trial about 2 years, it started about 2 years ago, ended about a year ago. And at that time, people didn't really want to talk about it still. And it was still kind of had a negative connotation around it. And it's changed. It's definitely changed.
Yeah, and thank God, right? Like, we had to go through this whole rigmarole, but like totally worth it. Totally worth it for the change.
Yeah.
When most of the time, as I have found across the world, is that people like law enforcement, the judicial system, etc., doesn't believe that like sex crimes physically hurt anyone. That it's like, oh, it was just bad sex, or oh, it was,
Yeah.
they don't feel like when people say, oh, this person assaulted me and they punched me in the face, they're like, oh my God, that's terrible. But when you're talking about sexual assault, people are like, oh, well, meh, like they don't really believe that it hurts.
Right.
What was your experience like with the judicial system at the time?
I had a good experience. I know not everybody does. I was met with compassion and kindness. I did have female detectives working with me, so I don't know if that made a difference.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I can tell you personally, that's definitely a huge deal.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad experiences, and I'm sure there's lots of awesome, compassionate male detectives, but mine happened to be female, and they were awesome. And they worked really closely with me throughout the whole thing. I was really annoying and emailed my detective just about every week to ask about updates. And she was so nice and always really really with it and giving me all the information. So I had good experience. I did not end up winning my trial, but the experience.
Hey, you went to trial. Most people never even see that.
You're right, and I had kind of a funny experience because he was found not guilty, but then after that, he took me back to court and tried to file a protection order against me. And he didn't have any grounds for this, but it was kind of his revenge. And I didn't have the money for a lawyer, so I represented myself. And with that, I got to put him on the stand and question him. And I tell you what, that was better than anything I could have felt, I think, from him getting found guilty. It was the most empowering thing I've ever went through.
Hey, that's a win in and of itself.
Yeah.
Okay. There's so many people, like so many ratchet people in this world that try to use restraining orders as like a bargaining chip. And it's so gross.
Yeah.
It's like the one trick these dumb ponies think that they know how to do. And you get to court and it's like it's kangaroo times 1,000. Like it's hilarious. Like really?
Yeah.
Seriously? This is your big plan? Really? For real? Okay.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep. And I won. There's no protection order got filed. So I ended up winning that one. So that was a win.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you for coming on No Filter Friday. And I will definitely repost your Facebook page in like the comments of this
Awesome.
episode when it comes out.
Cool. Thank you. Well, this was fun. Thanks.
Absolutely. Keep on rocking. And that is enough. No Filter Friday on Public House Media. Check out other shows on the network like Your Life Matters and Confessions of a Military Spouse and all of those fun things. See you all in another episode next week. Bye.